Hey, what's going on, Internet? Welcome. This is the Beacon of Nick podcast. I am Nick, obviously. The podcast is officially back. This is going to be done on a more regular basis, hopefully a couple times a week. Whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever it might be, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Today's guest is a very special guest that I really enjoy talking to. His name is Ethan. We hit it off extremely well. Ethan's going to school to be a pastor, and if you guys know anything about me, obviously you know that I'm very much agnostic. Don't really have I don't really believe in any certain thing, but I really enjoyed hearing Ethan out, and I think we agree on a lot of things. And obviously our views are not exactly parallel. We definitely have differentiating opinions, but we definitely found some common ground, and we had a really good conversation, and I really had fun with it. So I really hope you guys enjoy, and thank you guys so much. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Beacon of Nick podcast. I'm going to consider this my first ever podcast, actually. So we're going to consider this the Beacon of Nick podcast 1 with my friend Ethan. This is going to be a really interesting podcast. We've been meaning to do this for a while now. So we have a few things I think that we're planning on talking about, and I'm going to give this over to Ethan, and he's going to do a short introduction. So, Ethan, how you doing, man?
Hey, good. I'm doing good, Nick. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Ethan. I'm actually Nick's cousin by marriage recently. I'm excited to be here. I actually have a YouTube channel of my own that I just recently started, and Nick and I started talking about YouTube a few months back now, and we got really excited about the whole collaboration thing. So we've been trying to make this work for a while, but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Ethan, I'm so excited to talk to you, man, because I think it was a few weeks ago we went to go see Avengers together, and we planned on doing this podcast like that week, but then obviously life gets in the way sometimes and stuff gets in the way. But I'm still just as excited to talk to you, man. I think there's a lot of stuff we could talk about right now. I guess I wanted to say that, to let everybody know that you were going to school to be a pastor for a while. And I don't know if you're still doing that. I think we talked about it last time.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just recently graduated back in March. I graduated for Christian leadership through Grand Canyon University. It's a pretty crazy story, long story, but it took me 9 years to get there, but we made it happen, and I'm excited to be there.
See, that is awesome, man. I love hearing when people pursue things that they're really interested in and enjoy. And I think particularly we've had this discussion where I don't identify as religious or non-religious. I'm somewhere right in the middle. So I love having these conversations with both sides because I like to just kind of have a well-rounded ideology, I guess. But if I had to say one or the other, I would definitely, it might surprise people because I think before I used to identify as non-religious, but now I'm more religious. I just don't really identify with a certain one.
Absolutely. Now, going off that, I've met a lot of people who take that view. I don't really know how to explain this the best way. I'm sure some of you might hear this and be like, well, that's not the way I perceive it. But I see a lot of people go through the perception of, is there a God? Do we know if there's a God? And I know a few people who have actually said, well, I don't believe either because it can't be proven to me. This is one of those views that I wouldn't say popular, but it's basically the only word that really sums it up today, because a lot of people are going through this situation where they see a lot of stuff going on in the world, and we have big revelations through science right now, and that's amazing. That's really great. And I have nothing against science. I think science proves so much and helps us out so much with medicine, with health. Nick knows that more. You know that more than any. Well, I'm sure not anybody, but you know a lot about it, man. You're like a health nut. You know a lot about it, and you're all about that health. So But it's like I feel like science is very beneficial to us. Um, but at the same time, I feel like we rely on it today a little bit too much because, I was just watching a video on tech the other day. And now, before I say this, don't jump at me and say that I'm one of those people who think Facebook's taken over the world. But I, I really, I was watching this video and this guy was really talking about how, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all you people who are watching right now are trying to take over the world. So just subscribe and watch every video and make sure you do exactly what we tell you. No, but
Right. By the
no,
book, you gotta follow our exact commands.
no, but it's one of those things where the internet is one of those things where we find so much information, so much knowledge, and it's so amazing. But I think what we have come to know as a benefit, we've been blinded to see what it truly can do to us, and I think we both allow ourselves to be blinded because of the information it gives us. We see, we're able to look up so many different things, and Wikipedia has evolved through the years so much. I mean, it's so much more accurate than when it first came out back. When was that? Like, 2000s, early 2000s. What was it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. Yeah, it was probably like the actual like really good cameras are probably like early 2000s and whatnot. And it's amazing to see like when like even when I was born, like we didn't really have a lot of technology that we have now, like when it comes to smartphones and all that stuff. So like it's just like the transition that we've actually have been through in the last 20 years has been like just something that's I can't even like put into words how drastic it's been.
Really, yeah. I mean, and it's it just goes back to that that the need, we're not even the need, more the want. We want so much information. We want that knowledge of education, and the internet is a place where we can go. I mean, think about this. Okay, I pay $40 a month for internet. Okay, I pay $60 a month for both my wife and my phone's connection. And on that 60 or total $100 a month, that is, it's like you take minimum wage, you got a full-time, part-time job, whatever. Most people can afford this, whether they're on part-time or full-time. Okay, when you take that $100 a month and you multiply that by 12, you're looking at $1,200. You take $1,200 and you compare it to the average university cost, tuition, and you tell me which one's going to give you the better education.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's flat out, we pay people pay $30,000 or more for university costs, for tuition costs, room and board, for the kids to go through college, universities, and half the time these kids are failing. Half the times these kids are just squeezing by just to get a bachelor's degree. And don't get me wrong, like I have nothing wrong with a college education. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, that's why we love this, technology, this technology boom that we're in, and it keeps happening. It's not going anywhere. It's going to become so much more than we can even fathom.
Yeah, Ethan, I love how you bring this up, man, because like I for one am one of the biggest people that criticizes the way that we do education in America today when it comes to the university, how that's all set up and the structure of it all and how much it costs and where the money's going and the administrative costs and all this stuff and the college loans and whatnot. I think technology will be the thing that will allow everybody to get a high quality education. Like, I mean, you're seeing it like through YouTube. You're seeing all these people, like people that are college professors, people that are doctors. They have these channels, and if you're interested, they will teach you almost everything you ever want to know. And I watch a lot of podcasts, and I watch people know that I'm a huge fan of the Joe Rogan Experience, and he has a producer named Jamie, and Jamie went to college for 4 years, and then he basically left college. And now there's a course that you can take for 2 weeks and almost learn everything that he learned in the course of that 4 years.
Oh yeah, man. It's crazy. It's amazing because and I think that's why, you see so many businesses, small businesses today. We used to see, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of positions out there and a lot of people going after positions that require college degrees.
Right,
But
exactly.
just in the fact, like I've heard from so many people, they tell me, "Oh, you have a bachelor's degree. That's all that matters." Okay, like my bachelor's degree is in Christian leadership. I'll be honest that when I got this degree, when I decided to go to get this degree, I was excited because I'm like, man, I'm gonna bust this out. I'm going to work with my pastor and I'm going to become a pastor myself. Whether that means I start out as a youth pastor, become an assistant pastor after that, and then go to lead pastor. Whatever it takes me, wherever it takes me. I personally, and this is one of those things too with that career path. You definitely want to feel a calling from God with that, not just you want to go in that direction. But beside that point, I decided, I was like, I'm going to bust this out. Well, okay, I wasn't really thinking about the fact that, I go around to many churches today, like different churches, checking different churches out. Half the pastors that I have come across, they don't even, like, they have seminary. Their master is in seminary, but their bachelor's was in, like, law or marketing or something like that. They were not going to be a pastor. They went for something else and they were pulled into the ministry by God. But beyond that point, like, I still enjoyed my education, and I feel like I got quite a bit from it. But at the same time, I'm trying to pull around where I'm actually coming from here.
Right.
The biggest, summing it up, it's one of those things where going into that, after seeing that, I'm like, wow, my degree covers nothing. Like, I mean, it's a pinpoint. Like, all I have on my belt is Christian leadership. A lot of people can say, well, that sounds like management to me. That sounds like leadership skills and communication skills. It's like, sure, it does, but okay, it's one of the things, like, are you telling me that these jobs that are opening up with, oh, a bachelor is required. Okay, half of these jobs that are opening up with a bachelor required, unless it's in the medical field, they are basically just saying, hey, we want you to have a bachelor's degree. So it's not, it's basically what it was. And a lot of people, and a lot of you guys are going to know this already. You're going to be like, yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those things where, okay, back when I got my first job at McDonald's, right around that time, I was seeing a lot of jobs still, a lot of opportunities where it said your high school diploma or your GED.
Exactly. Right.
That's what was required. And that was
Yes.
a free education right there. As long as you went to public school, that was a free education,
Right.
taxpayer paid. And
Yes.
now we have taxpayer paid student loans putting the country into debt. And they're saying, hey, now since we have all this education, that's the new standard. And
Right.
that is such a problem.
It's such a problem because the like you were saying, like 30 years ago or even up to 10 years ago, a lot of you'd be able to find a career if you had a high school diploma. You would 100% be able to support yourself, and now you still can, but the opportunities are less and less available for most people. And the new standard, like a bachelor's degree in today's age, is almost like what a high school diploma was 30 years ago in a way. So I don't want to talk about politics too much in this, I guess, but we definitely can if you want. But but like I just think that the idea of making college more affordable, more accessible, and cheaper for the everyday person is 100% a good idea, regardless of how you feel about left wing or right wing politics, because like that's going to be what we need in the country today. Like just work. Like I feel like working hard and having that work ethic is important, but it's not going to be enough going forward to compete in the job market when most things are technology and informational based, I guess.
I agree with you and disagree with you at the same time. I
I
agree
love
that
it.
I agree that you know college education should definitely be lowered cost. Okay, I mean, you have to take a look at it. And I went into this perspective with, I started college at Alma College. It was a $33,000 tuition with room and board. And going in there, seeing how these professors taught, I'm like, whoa, like, where's this money going to?
So,
And
like, did
truth,
you go right after high school? Sorry to cut you off.
oh no, yeah. I went right after high school.
Okay.
Graduated in 2009. Attended there from 2009 to 2010. Um, it was it was a crazy thing because it was completely different than what I was used to. Uh, Grew up in a small town, Breckenridge, Michigan. Went to school there and graduated from there. And it was one of those things where the teachers the teachers cared. I mean, like you could see, like they would come to you, and don't get me wrong, I understand the difference between high school and college. College is one of those places where they're going to say, okay, it's time to fend for yourself. They want to teach in a way that gets you more independent. But here's the thing, I was going through that, and I'm like, well, these teachers have got to be getting paid something, a good salary, if I'm paying $33,000 a year. Okay.
Yes.
Then on top of that, I went half a year in room and board. That was $33,000 for the whole year. So cut that in half. It was like, I think it was like 15,000 or something like that for half the year. And then the other half of the year, I was really close to home. So I decided, you know what? Like I was struggling with school for a little while. So I decided to go home and just commute. That dropped the cost in half. So mind you that I was paying half of that for the education that I was getting and half of that for my living expenses. Mind you, the food they served was like high school cafeteria stuff.
Right.
Mind you, the beds we had were like 4-inch, camp mattresses. These weren't anything it wasn't anything comfy. Two people to a room, you had probably an apartment complex size, and take an apartment and multiply it by 3 maybe, and that's how many rooms you would have in an apartment complex or in a dormitory. So I'm like,
Jesus.
where $15,000 in half a year. 15,000. Okay, so $15,000 half a year. You divide that by 2, so you got 7.5. So $7,500 goes towards room and board. I
And like,
take it. That's 3 months. That's 3 months. Now I could go to, like, you look at your food that you get from the grocery store. I could probably budget for myself and get a nice apartment for less than that. Way
oh,
less than that.
I bet you could find like a really nice apartment and like shop smart, and you would probably pay a third of what you're paying at that university, probably or less. Like, it's just amazing how exorbitantly expensive these universities can become because, like, I just think the system allows them to just raise the cost every year because you look at the inflation rising and then the rise of the college tuition, and it's not even comparable. Like, it's just they're just completely on different trajectories. Like, one's slowly going up and one's just rising like exponentially.
Yeah, yeah, and to answer your question, or go back to what we were saying earlier, is it's like that just kind of gives you a better view of, like, okay, only half of that is going towards the education, but then you have to ask yourself, now how much of that going towards the education is actually going towards the professor's salary? Okay, these professors aren't making anything. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, they've got a nicer paycheck than me, but I mean, if you think, okay, these are the leaders of tomorrow, like the professors, the teachers are the leaders of the generation of tomorrow. They are teaching us what we need to learn to further our skills out in the community, create jobs, and lead our generation. So it's like that's the leadership that we lean upon. And that's the leadership that is the new standard. And you're telling me that these people, make 40 to 80 grand a year. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous to me. Like when you're charging $33,000 a year.
You would think with the amount of kids that go there and the amount of how high tuition is, and like, I mean, yes, there's a lot of other expenses probably that come with running a university, but like those, like you said, professors and teachers are the people that touch the youth before they actually go out in the world and they live their lives. So like, you want the best people that are the most inspiring, the people that actually make the biggest difference in kids' lives. And like you said, I don't think that's how our system operates right now. I don't think that's what we have in a lot of these university positions. And maybe it's because they feel like they're underappreciated because they're not paid enough. Maybe it feels like maybe it's because I don't know what the reason is, but you're definitely right in that sense, I think.
Yeah, and I think too, going back to what you had said about, lowering tuition costs, and since this is the new standard, like, it's never going to happen. We're in this rut that's just going to keep building and snowballing and stuff. But the difficulty is we need to reverse what we've already done. Okay, like this we need to just erase this whole thing. This should not be the standard, because what this is doing is this is frowning upon trades. This is when kids graduate from high school, their parents are like, well, you better go to college. You better go to college. You better get scholarships. You better do this. You better do that. They're expecting them to make big money. And it's like, that's great. That's great. The parents want that for their kids, but understand that if we just had a bunch of engineers, if we just had a bunch of, you know, mathematicians, who's going to build the buildings?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to do all this other stuff? Who's going to drive the buses? There's going to be no transportation. There's not going to be. It's like, okay, we are creating low income families because we're making this the new standard. Because when you make the new standard, well, now you have all these jobs that are, this is where all the salary needs to go to because they have the education. Well, now you still need these other positions down here to actually make your companies run, but you can't afford to pay them anything because you're paying for their education.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good way of looking at it. But I remember when I was in high school, I remember we had this thing called career day, and we had a couple people come in and they're like, "Hey guys," and like essentially I'm gonna boil it down to a short sentence, but like they're like, "Hey guys, the world's changing really fast. You guys might not be able to have one career for your entire life because you guys might, a lot of stuff's gonna be automated or technology is gonna come and basically change a lot of your guys' careers. You guys got to have different plans set up throughout your life to, just a plan A, B, C, D." And then they're like, okay, we got to have these plans, and then you're pushing college on us, and we're gonna have all this debt because we're trying to get a job that might not be there for us. And it's like I just don't understand. I don't understand where the math is there. Like I just think we need to have a better system implemented in this country to help the youth of today, and like have like a more guided like hey, like you have to put work in, but like this is what you could do with your life if you wanted to. And I just feel like a lot of people today are kind of lost in limbo because they're not really sure what the future holds.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, I especially agree with that. There are so many things that college doesn't teach you, that high school doesn't teach you. Again, we need to be prepared for that day when we walk out with our gowns and say, hey, now my life is starting. I'm on my own. How do I do this? And the truth is, a lot of people frown upon, well, you need to go to college first. And don't get me wrong, like, people who get full rides to school, that's awesome. Congratulations. Take it and earn it while you're at school. But at the same time, take the time to really learn about finances, because high school, I mean, I'm sure there's some high schools out there that do this, and I'm sure there's some colleges that, have optional courses or something like that, or optional events that can teach you about financials. But the biggest thing that is lacked is the teaching of what happens when you get out of school and you realize you have a big ball of debt because you decided to further your education to get a better job.
Yes. And then the problematic thing is then you have this big ball of debt, and then you want to find the first job that's available, whether or not it's a job that you're passionate about. And then you feel like this is the safest thing I can do to pay off my debt. And then you work there for 10, 20 years, and then your life kind of passes you by. And I've seen this happen for a lot of people. And it's like, I just think it causes a lot more harm than it does good for people. Like I'm 100%, I believe education is very important, but there's always a cost benefit ratio you have to look at too, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely, dude.
And I just think it's one of those things where we should like I just think we need to have like I don't know if we need to subsidize college more. I don't think that's the key. I don't know if there's a way we can bring the cost down more. I don't know if there's a way that technology and the internet is going to allow us to have almost essentially free college. But I know the way that the amount that books cost and tuition and room and board and all this stuff. And I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it's going to be something that we can have long term because I just think people are going to wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm tired of this. Like, this is just too much. Like, there's got to be a better way that we can do this.
Yeah, and people already are. I mean, you see that with this platform that we're about to upload this video on. Okay.
Right.
You take a look at how this has exploded. Who thought that a free video software, just anybody can go on, anybody can upload, can actually create revenue, actual revenue that you can rely on, that you can make this something like this full time if you commit to it and you really look into it and you study it and you form your business around it. Like, I mean, that I can just upload videos weekly or 2 times a week, whatever. And I was really to take the time to look at my audience and really learn my audience and just put my everything into it. I don't have to buy anything. Like, I have my cell phone. Everybody, let's be honest, everybody has a cell phone today. Yes. I do see a lot of people walking around with flip phones, and that's great. I embrace that. But it's just like that you can do that right there. That shows revolution. Like, you are seeing Generation Z. I'm pretty sure that's correct, right? Generation Z is what we're on now with high schoolers.
I think you're right. I think it is Generation Z. I'm pretty sure millennials are on their kind of last little leg here, and then Generation Z is kind of coming out now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like you look at YouTube, and I mean, you see a lot of the millennials. You see a lot of the millennials out there creating videos, sustaining income through YouTube. But then you see these Generation Zs, and even they are flooding YouTube and creating content that is just booming. And it's amazing how 10-year-olds have cartoon shows or kids shows on YouTube, and they're bringing in a sweet income because of it.
Right. And it's weird because like I see the generational gap between the millennials and then like people that are 40 and 50 right now, and they don't understand YouTube at all, which I don't blame them at all because I probably wouldn't understand it either. But like even like when I tell people that I have a channel and stuff like that, I feel like people just don't understand the concept of it. And it's definitely just one of those things where if you don't grow up with it, like you're going to have less of an understanding. But I just think they don't understand that this is like going to be the future, and this is only going to go up, and it's only going to expand. Like, this is not like a fad or anything. This is the way that the future is probably going to go, like online, through the internet, through communication, through gaming, through all this stuff. Like, this is definitely the way that society is going to extrapolate upon and evolve from this, I think.
Oh, definitely. And that's going right back to you saying, this is the new standard and we need to fix it so it's better. That's why I agree with you. It's like we're never going to take that step back. So we need to take a look at, okay, how do we take what we have now and how do we fix that? How do we do it in a way? Let's learn from our mistakes. Okay, it's the same thing with, you see Obamacare. Okay, Obama was a president who brought a lot of change, some good, some bad. But, like one of the biggest things Obama was known for was Obamacare, reforming Obamacare. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, this is great, but it's unstructured. And people are abusing it today. And it needs to be one of those things where, okay, well, this is good. This is a good thing because there are a lot of people who need money, who need income, who are not receiving enough income because of the economy today. Don't get me wrong. The unemployment rate, it's a joke, okay? It's one of those things where it's like, wow, employment is sky high now. Like, look at this. Unemployment rate is, what's it at, like less than 8% now?
Right, but the amount of things they don't account into that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's so awesome. Yeah, that includes people making 9.45 at McDonald's for 10 hours a week.
And that
Like,
also includes like people that have just stopped looking for stuff to do too, you know?
right.
And
Yeah.
like it includes all these people. That rate is only including people that are actively searching right now.
Yep.
And it angers me, man. I don't want to say it angers me because like obviously it does, but I hate to say that. It just like makes me uneasy. Like I just wish that we'd have a more honest system. So like, and then a lot of these news sources like CNN and Fox, they want to take that number and they basically want to just twist it and mold it into their own viewpoint. And both sides are kind of guilty in a way of not giving us the exact truth that we deserve to hear, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. And I go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I was kind of gonna just like expand upon that but I don't even know what I was gonna say. But like, I just wish that we had like, that's why I like podcasting, because you have a lot of these people that like take that the twisted and the fake statistics, and they almost try to give it to you in a way that, hey, this is what's going on. This is why this person's saying it this way. This is why this person's saying it this way. This is how I see it, and I'm trying to be a happy medium, and that's what I prefer to watch. But
Oh yeah, dude. And that's the thing, I think it's one of those things where we were talking about this just before we started the video, the difference between YouTube and a podcast. It's one of those things where we are served so much media a day. And what I love about a podcast is that I'm not stuck on one thing. I am listening to you and I am searching, trying to see what you're saying, seeing whether it's credible or not. I can do that right on my phone all at the same time. It's one of those things. Well, let's compare notes here. Okay, so somebody's telling me one thing. Let me see what you're saying. Let me see whether it's true or not. Really, let's go to Snopes and snope it out.
right, exactly. Like I say something that you like, yeah, that doesn't sound true. Then you can look it up and you can call me out on it, and then vice versa. And like it just makes for a more open dialogue, and it makes it so like both of us have to make sure that we are affirming our beliefs, and we believe them for the right reasons, and we don't just have these, because a lot of times you watch these news sources and they only have 3 minutes on air to get their point across, and they're not going into details, and then that's where the disagreements come in, because like there's just like a lot of things that are left unsaid, and both sides have to assume that the other person believes something that they might not believe for a certain way. Like we just need a longer form of communication, and that's what I think podcasting gives us.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things where it's talk radio. It's talk radio right on your smartphone, and I think it's great because talk radio is one of those things where a lot of people will say like, "Oh, you listen to talk radio, dude? Like, why?" It's like, talk radio is one of those things where you learn so much, because it's just so many different sources of information that you're able to get straight up. And it's one of those things, when you have a podcast, when you enter the podcast realm, you're looking at one topic, looking at over 1,000 podcasts on the same topic. Let's listen. Let's listen. I can run, I can jog, I can make dinner, I can do whatever I want, I can drive home, and I can get that information, see what you think, and I can compare it to what, in my case, and what I believe. I can compare it straight to the Word of God, and I can say, you know what, he has a point or he doesn't have a point.
Dude, yeah, you put that so elegantly. I love how you said that. Like, I love how podcasting is like, hey, this is a person that's lived his life, and this is the belief system that he's developed. And here's another person who's lived a completely different life, and this is the belief system that he developed. And they it's almost like all of the beliefs come and they merge together, and like some fight each other, and they kind of find a happy medium, and like some like basically fit into each other so well, like a puzzle piece, like. And it's just really cool to see like what they've developed and what works and what doesn't and why they believe what they believe. And then you said like people like certain ideologies, like religion ideologies, like you see like, hey, like you're not religious, but you believe this, and I'm religious and I believe the same thing. So that's where we kind of fit together. And that's really cool that we can both, have different views, but also think the same thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, man, like let's bring it back to religion for a minute. But like, because like I grew up Christian, and I was never like someone that was like I went to church on Sundays because almost because I was forced to, I'll admit, and I went to Sunday school, but like I was never like committed fully, but like I was always like, hey, this seems like something that like is relatively good for humanity, and it's something that we can follow along, and it brings people together and it brings a sense of community. And there's good and there's bad people on both sides. It's one of those things, but like I think it does a lot of good for the community, whether or not I believe in it or not. But like I just think the idea of like religion today, it causes a lot of controversy, but I just think the heart of it is a really good thing. I just think the idea of bringing people together to celebrate life and to celebrate why we're here is something that's really important.
Absolutely. I actually, I am one of those guys who did not, it's tough. I didn't really grow up in the church. I started going to church around when I was like, oh man, like I want to say 6 or 7 or something like that. My buddy invited me to church one time, and I went, and I ended up going to his church for about, I don't know, a few years, but it was kind of on and off. But then when I was like 10 years old or something like that, my mom and dad, they started going to church consistently. And then, I was going where they were going, and around, I think it was 11 or 12, I actually ended up getting baptized. And I was in the Free Methodist Church at that time. And the pastor that was over that church grew me so much. I can't even express how much I grew in like 2 years. I just felt so close to the Lord, and it was amazing. And today I agree with you that it is such a controversial topic today, that looking back to that time when I found God, truthfully, like who God was, and I knew who God was, and I wanted to hear more about it, how on fire I was. Looking back then, man, it feels like today I'm just a smolder, because it's one of those things. It's not that I'm not on fire for God, but it's that because religion is such a sensitive topic today, you don't know how to bring it up. And maybe it's just the difference in age. This was when I was in middle school, high school. I was able to go to school and be like, hey guys, listen to this, or hey, come to church. Today, you are like walking on thin ice if you bring that up in work. And it's scary, because you have to look at, from my point of view, you have to look at, well, what does the Bible say? Does the Bible say that work comes first, or that God comes first? Because truthfully, what God says is that God comes first, and second comes my family. But in order to have my family, I have to serve my family by providing money so we can support ourselves. And in order to do that, I have to have a job. So how do I do that? How do I live my life and really reach out to people in work and around me with religion? There are ways, and when you look in the Bible and you continuously dive into the Bible, it's heartwarming, because what God says is that actions are louder than words, and that's the biggest thing we have to remember. But still, going back to the point how you said, religion is such a sensitive topic today, it's still frustrating, and it can still tear us down and really make it a difficult situation to live with.
Definitely. I completely agree with that. Like, and like I also like the first time I ever talked to you about this kind of stuff, I liked how like you never pushed anything on me, because I also watch this like I meet some religious people, and when I say I'm not religious, they kind of like, they don't get argumentative, but like they kind of get like a little like raised up a little bit. Like I'm just like the kind of guy where I'm right in the middle. Like I'm usually pretty like moderate about this stuff. And I watch this guy on Facebook, on YouTube sometimes, and he's more of like a Buddhist. And he was also searching for like more to life. Like he's searching like spiritually for stuff. And he ended up going to this Buddhist monastery. And like he walked in and he was like talking to the monk that was in charge of the place. And he was really giving the monk a hard time, like saying, like, yeah, I don't really believe any of this, but I'm gonna give this a chance. And the guy almost let his name is Duncan, and the guy almost let Duncan be where he was at and not try to push him towards a direction he was not willing to go already. You know, you kind of got to let people be where they're at. And if they're willing to go somewhere, then you can lead them to the source of water. But you cannot like make them drink the water unless they're really willing to do it. You know, and I just think it's one of those things where like we need to be more open, because I'm the kind of person where like, hey, if you believe something and it brings you happiness and pleasure and like you think that you're finding the truth about life, I am so happy for you, because that's all I can wish for any human being. But I just think we need to be more open to like allowing people to like just figure out what their truth is. And for a lot of people, that's Christianity, and that might be the truth. But it's like I just think we need to be more. I think we need to be more accepting in all forms of life. And I think that's definitely why I love to watch your videos, because I think your videos on YouTube are awesome. And you're like, when I talk to you about this stuff, I get a sense that you're genuinely like excited and passionate about this, which is really cool to see.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely, going back to what you said about, I'm trying to recall exactly how you said it, but finding our truth and being happy, finding our happiness and stuff like that. It's one of those things where I have, over the years, come to the conclusion, and a lot of professors actually disagreed with me on this one. But the Bible says that we should not surround ourselves with bad trees, because bad trees produce bad fruit. And when you're surrounded by bad fruit, what else do you have to eat? And what do you become? So,
wow, that's really amazing. I've heard of that before, but the way you just put it actually made me, wow, that's amazing.
So, and it's one of those things where, okay, but what is a bad tree? What is a bad tree? And you have to ask yourself, and what does surround yourself with mean? So when I say a bad tree, I mean someone who is, okay, like straight up, I'll just keep it simple, non-Christian, non-believing, someone who does not believe in the Christian God. Okay, that, and take this lightly, because I'm not saying, hey, like people are terrible who are not Christians. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
What I'm saying is a bad tree is something that does not produce fruit that gives life. And from my belief, from my knowledge, from my faith that God has given me, the only thing that can give the true life that we need to be everlasting is God, is Jesus. But what happens there is, too many times, like you said, people will say, okay, that's the only way, and you need to believe it or you need to leave. Well, okay, how do we reach people that way? How do we get across to people by being like that? If we continuously go after people like that, I don't think there's going to be many Christians left. It's one of those things where what I have learned over the years is that you're absolutely right. There's a difference between accepting and supporting, though. I believe we do need to be accepting of everybody. I do believe that Christians need to be more accepting of people at every step of their faith, because whether you are a Christian or not, God loves you. Okay, you are God. Every single one of you, every single person listening to this podcast, every single person not listening to this podcast, you are a child of God. Okay, and that's because He has created Adam and Eve, and we have come through that offspring. Now, if I say to you, believe in God now, and if you don't, I'm going to start a fight with you, that doesn't make any sense to me, because now I'm forcing you to believe something that the Creator has given us choice to believe. So, in a sense, by me saying that I can't accept you for who you are, even though I know the truth is God, then I'm not accepting what God has done, saying that I truthfully do not know God, the God that I believe in.
Right. That yeah, exactly, dude. That yeah, like halfway through that, I was like just so interested in what you were saying. Like I was just like trying to like I feel like my mind was just going in a billion different directions trying to process exactly what that means. But you're right because like a lot of the stuff that I follow, like you said that God loves you, God wants what's best for you, but He also gives us the freedom of choice. And like, see, I follow like a few different religions, and I pay attention to a lot of them. And the one I follow the most is Buddhism. But like in that they said the universe loves you, you're a child of God. The universe is always imperfect, and He gives you the choice to make good and bad decisions. But you should always make the good decisions because that will lead you to heaven instead of hell. And like the way that I see it personally, and I'm not saying it's correct, is that hell and heaven are places on earth, and they're not really places in the afterlife, which could be wrong. I could be completely wrong on that. And when you make good choices, it leads you towards heaven or having a fulfilling and satisfying life. And the opposite's true. If you make bad choices, you're going to have a hellish experience here, and it's going to be a really bad time for you. Um, but that's just, but I feel like that's changing throughout my entire life, and I feel like my religious views in 10 years are going to be a lot different than they are now, which may or may not be true. But I just try to really, I try to look at everything I'm weird because like I think a lot of people like the way that you talked about that right now. It's awesome because I love to be the person in the middle where I accept those views and I support them and I can give my own feedback. But if you were talking to a person that believed the opposite of what you believed, I think there would have been a confrontation there, which I don't believe is right. I think you should be able, both sides should be able to say what they want to believe and come to a middle ground. But I don't. That's what I think the problem in society today is.
Right, and I think, it's difficult because, I do believe there are points where you cannot come to a middle ground, but that doesn't mean it should end with one being right and one being wrong. Because again, you have a mental state of your own, and you will always believe what you believe. You could say, okay, you win, but in all truth, uh, you're still leaving the situation with your own beliefs that you had in the first place. It's one of those things to fight about it, to argue about it, to debate about it. It really does no good because, it's one of those things, a friendly debate, or I wouldn't even say debate, more of a discussion. Once it reaches a debate, it's gone a little too far
I
because
agree.
it's one of those things where now you're trying to win an argument and that okay, when you're trying to win an argument, it's the glory is going back to yourself. You're being selfish.
Right.
So, and it's absence of God. So God is not blessing that. So what is the point in doing it?
It's
You
funny
know?
because like a discussion gains momentum throughout the discussion, and sometimes the momentum can lead to a debate. And once you hit the debate level, you're almost certainly going to hit the argument level, 100%.
Oh,
Like because the momentum just builds up inside of you, and once that starts, it's like that just wants to stay in motion and get faster and faster and faster, and then you reach a boiling point, and then it blows up. So like if you can keep it at the discussion level, and like whenever you feel the momentum building up, if you can just take a deep breath, let it go, and get your head back to where it needs to be, you can pretty much stay at that level if you're good about it.
I like that. I like that very much. Yeah, that's definitely true on all levels. Definitely keep your head. It's one of those things where I've been in those before where it's turned into a flat out argument, and it's one of those things where I can look back and say, well, no, I wasn't really arguing. We're still friends. It's like it doesn't matter whether you're still friends or not. You still
Right.
argued about it. And
Exactly.
and I think if you look in the Bible, if you look in the New Testament, uh, it's probably in there like 20 times throughout the New Testament, and it's basically the simplest phrase is, "Those who have ears will hear." Let those who have ears hear. And it's one of those things. It doesn't say listen. It doesn't say um, you know let sounds come into theirs. It's saying, okay, simple fact. Those who have ears means simply those who are willing to hear, not just listen. Like, here, I'm going to listen to what you have to say, but I'm really not like going to open up my mind at all to it. I'm already set in my views. I'm already set in what I believe. but you can speak and I'll listen to exactly what you're saying. Not that, but like those who have ears, I'm going to open my mind now. My mind is open and I'm letting you speak, and I am setting my beliefs aside so I can see what you have to say.
Right.
Okay. That is one of those things where that is what Jesus says that we need to do as Christians. When we're talking to people, when we're expressing the gospel, when we're sharing our story of faith, we need to understand that not everybody's going to have ears to hear. Not everybody's going to have ears to truly open their mind and hear what we're saying. They may listen to us, but truthfully, they're not opening their mind and saying, okay, maybe they're just waiting for their turn to speak. But that's okay, because Jesus doesn't say, let those who do not have ears burn in hell. Let
Right.
those who
Exactly.
do not
Exactly.
have ears get reprimanded by you because they don't believe in me. He's the judge, and that time will come. Revelation says a lot of things about what will happen, but in all truth, it's a very difficult book to interpret, and it's one of those things where I try not to get too much into, because I do know that there's quite a bit of truth between heaven and hell, but as to what the end times bring, that's all up to God.
Definitely, definitely. I think that's it's really enlightening. I think it is difficult to interpret a lot of things that come with religious texts, because there's a lot of like differentiating meaning, and there's stuff that's not totally clear, and it's almost like you have to decipher it for yourself. Or there's actually there's 100% objective truths, but I just think the idea that people can like interpret things differently can also cause problems. But I think it's, man, I really like talking to you, Ethan, because like I really think that like you're very open-minded, but you're also still concrete in your beliefs. Like you'll let people say what they want to say. You never shut them down, but like, hey, this is what I believe, but I'm still willing to negotiate a little bit. But I'm still gonna believe in. I'm still Christian. I'm still Christian. At the end of the day, it's like I was saying. I think it'd be really cool one day if you had your own online church, or your own. Like, you kind of have your channel right now, but I think one day that could be a cool way to for the future, to have some churches online for people that want to worship on Sundays or whatnot. I think that's something that could be really interesting.
And I've actually, I see a lot of, you already have quite a bit of broadcasts, from churches and stuff, and I see the point there, how that could be very beneficial. But what a lot of people, and a lot of Christians for that matter, don't understand is how wow, man, I'm blanking. What's your antonym for benefit? It's not beneficial. It's detrimental. Or
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So how detrimental it can be, because it's one of those things where that's great. That brings so many people to the word, to what they need to hear. But at the same time, there is so much more. There's so much more to that. And what I think that what I like about my channel right now is that it's terrible. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just
I love how bad it is. I love how awful. I love how poor the production is. It's just great.
No, it's a startup channel right now. But basically what I'm going for is discussion like this, to get people discussing their life story, to get people discussing their faith, to get people discussing, hey, like, did you hear what Ethan talked about on No Title Necessary the other day? I don't believe in God, but I hear what he was saying and it really connected with me. And then, maybe these people will talk to each other, non-believers talk to each other, believers talk to each other, non-believers go and initiate conversation with believers, and believers go initiate conversation with non-believers. That's one of the biggest things I hope for that channel to do, is to really inspire conversation, to inspire discussion, but mostly what I want to come out of that channel is people yearning for a relationship with God. And why I say that, to go back to what you were saying, how, it would be cool to have a online church or something, how detrimental that can be is how that is it for people. I am comfortable sitting on my couch watching church from here. It's we're already we already have so many rules in this world that allow us m- justify a safe place for not spreading the gospel. Our work says don't say it here. You go outside in you do your shopping or whatever, you have a hard time saying hi to people without getting a hello back. I try to say hi or like how are you doing to like every person I pass. I try my best to do it. It doesn't always happen, but I try my best to do it. But I cannot tell you how many people who have given me a look like, what did he just say? What,
Yes.
what in the world? Like, did he seriously just ask me how my day is going? Like,
Right.
and it's one of it's because I mean like people don't ask anymore. And either a lot of people don't ask, they don't get it that often, or also it's like, how dare you? Like, this is my safe time. Like, don't talk to me kind of thing. It's
Right.
like whoa, man, like what kind of day are we living in? And so the reason I would say, that would be detrimental, an online church, is just, I could express how important it is to go out and be involved in the community. But the problem is if they are relying on an online church for a relationship with God, then they are not surrounding themselves with good fruit, with good trees. They are allowing themselves to have their comfortable relationship by themselves with the Lord. And the problem with that is there's no accountability. There's no accountability in that relationship. And how easy is it? How easy is it to disobey the Lord by yourself? How
Oh, it's
easy
it's
is
amazingly easy.
and how easy is it to disobey your boss? How easy is it to disobey your parents? How easy is it to disobey, a direct order from, whether you're in the military or something, or you're at home and your wife asked you to do something, your girlfriend asked you to do something, and you simply say, "Yeah, I did it," and you didn't really do it. It's one of those things. By ourselves, eh, we have no strength, dude. We have no strength. And with God, we have all the strength in the world. But how are we going to keep that connection to all that strength in the world unless we surround ourselves with people who are trying to keep that same connection?
Ethan, I love it, man. That was very elegantly put. I like how you brought the point across that the online church could be beneficial, detrimental, depending how you see it. But I think it is more beneficial if you are a Christian to gather with other people that have the same belief system. And I think everything is stronger in numbers, and probably including that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just think, like you said, the whole thing with like you you are reaffirming your beliefs, and I think it'll make you more likely to search deeper and deeper into it if you're surrounded by people that have the same beliefs as you, regardless if whatever your religion is. I think especially for that kind of stuff, yes, I think it's important, like you said. But like, I think your channel is awesome, Ethan. I think you're one of the. I really enjoy every video you post. Um, I think I should probably wrap this up right now. But
Yeah.
dude, this was an awesome podcast, man. We went much longer than I thought we would, but I enjoyed every single minute of it.
Yeah, dude, it was great. Thank you so much for having me, man. And I am thrilled to be a part of your podcast, thrilled to be a part of your channel. Uh, Dude, thanks for having me here. It was pretty awesome having the conversation. You made some awesome points, and just everybody who's watching this, just remember, like Nick says, it's important to be open. It's important to not just accept people, but really listen, hear what they have to say. Um, and if you're Christian and you're listening to this, it's what I mean by open is not by forfeiting your beliefs. Stand firm in the Lord, stand firm in God, but understand that by opening your mind, setting your beliefs aside for a moment to see to hear what they have to say. This allows you to see where they have come from, what they have gone through, and see how you can bring them to the Lord.
Man, what a way to put it, Ethan. Thank you so much again for coming on, man. Do you want to give your channel out so people can find you and follow you on YouTube?
Yeah, dude, my channel is No Title Necessary. Pretty soon I'm going to be coming out with a video to discuss why I named it No Title Necessary. But yeah, definitely hit me up. My name is Ethan, and I'm sure Nick will probably put my channel in the links. If he doesn't, I'm going to unsubscribe to his channel.
Yes. Okay. On that note, I will make sure to tag his channel. I'll give a link to it and everything like that. Thank you so much again, Ethan. We'll definitely do this again. We'll definitely talk about more things that relate to this and other stuff as well.
All right. Thanks, Nick. You
Thanks,
have a good
Ethan.
one, man.
That was a great time, man. Thanks again.